Was it Friday evening? Maharaj, can you tell us what chapter you're reading and what?
Yes, it's chapter 7 of Antya Leela, called The Meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vallabha Bhatta. Okay. Ashya Bandila Bhatta Prabhu Rocharane Prabhu Bhagavatta Buddhye Kaila Alingane. When Vallabha Bhatta arrived, he offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of the Lord. Accepting him as a great devotee, the Lord embraced him. With great respect, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seated Vallabha Bhatta near him. Then Vallabha Bhatta very humbly began to speak. Bahudin Manorat Toma Dekibare Jagannath Purna Koila Dekilun Tamare. For a long time, he said, I have desired to see you, my Lord. Now Lord Jagannath has fulfilled this desire, therefore I am seeing you. Tomar darshan je pai se bhagavan, tomake dekhiye jena shakshat bhagavan. One who receives your audience is fortunate indeed, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Tomare je smaran kore se hoy pavitra, darshane pavitra habe ite ki vichitra. Since one who remembers you is purified, why should it be astonishing that one becomes purified by seeing you? Yes? So even if by remembering the Lord one becomes purified in mind and body, then what to speak of seeing? Physically seeing, I would say, yeah, okay, physically seeing. So, and then of course being a learned scholar, Vallabha Bhatti quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam to support his what he's just said. This was the way, when they would make a statement, these statements are always supported by Shastric knowledge, yeah? And that's even in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself, being of course, he himself is the source of Vedic knowledge, because he says, Vedas cha sarvam aham eva vedya, Vedanta krit veda videva chaham. All the Vedas come from me, and their purpose is to know me. But then Krishna himself is, when he's making certain statements in Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, oh, this, what I have just said, is supported by in Vedanta Sutra. So he's setting the example there to show that you can't just make statements speculatively. They have to have some basis in some standard authorized knowledge. Or at least in the line of that. Right? For as we say, we're saying devotion to Krishna, Bhakti Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. So those who have devotion to God, they may be Christian, Muslim, etc. But if it's in the line of that devotion to love of God, then that we can accept that as in line or in accordance with the Vedic version, though it may not be Vedic directly, but not anything atheistic or antagonistic to devotion or Mayavad and things like that. So this is the quotation he gives from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 19th chapter of the first canto. Tesham samsmaranat pungshang sadak shudhanti vai griha king puna darshana sparsha pada sochashanadipi. One can immediately purify his entire house simply by remembering exalted personalities, to say nothing of directly seeing them, touching their lotus feet, washing their feet, or offering them places to sit. And it's similar in the bhajan we sing for Tulsi Maharani. It says, simply by seeing you, or to speak of touching you. Do you remember? You look at that.
72.
It's page 72.
Yes.
Yeah. Really?
By seeing, by touching, you all sins are destroyed.
Oh, right. Yes. So you know the holy places, you know, like Vrindavan, Puri, Navadvip, of course, they're called tirthas. And tirtha, the literal meaning of tirth is a ford, like in a river. So the river's deep, but you get a certain place where it becomes very shallow. Right? That's called a ford. That means at that place you can cross the river. So a tirtha is a place you can cross the river or the ocean of the material existence, because the veil between the worlds, this world and the spiritual, is very thin in that place. So you can cross over. So that's the value of holy places. But association of saintly persons, they can purify even the holy places. Isn't it? Like, you know, we heard the Ganga, so many sinful reactions coming off the people bathing in the Ganga. And so when the holy persons go there, they purify even the Ganga and the holy places like that. So that's what he's saying. Then he's speaking again in his own words, Valabhabhata. Kali kalera dharma, Krishna nama sankirtan, Krishna shakti bina nahi tara pravatan. Oh, actually, no, that's another quotation. I believe that's from Srimad Bhagavatam, I recognize it. Maybe you know where it's from, but Kali kalera dharma, Krishna nama sankirtan, Krishna shakti bina nahi tara pravatan. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. Srila Prabhupada, in some other place in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in his purport, he quoted this verse saying that the people who are envious of his activities in the Western world, that he was able to bring Krishna consciousness to so many people, and through his preaching they became converted to be devotees of Krishna. And he quoted this verse, which is saying, unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. So indirectly he was saying they may say many things, but they have no power from Krishna. He's not praising himself, of course, but he's just, this is what the Shastra says. Unless you're empowered by Krishna, you cannot actually propagate the Sankirtan movement. Any person, any devotee, from very simple or beginner devotee, if they're sincerely attempting to preach the glories of Krishna and the Sankirtan movement, they will get empowered by Krishna. And that's Lord Chaitanya's general instruction to all of us. Tare kaha, how's it go, the verse? Jare deka, whoever you see, tare kaha, wherever you go, Krishna Upadesh, tell them about Krishna. Yeah? Amar Agyai Guru Tara Hana Edesh. And I will be providing, I will be giving, supplying you with the potency. Yeah. So the person who's preaching isn't the Guru. Then Krishna or Lord Chaitanya is the Guru. The person is like the pencil, and the hand that is moving is actually Krishna. But if the pencil thinks they're the hand, that's a problem, isn't it? You have spread the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it. So here you have the paradox. Previously, when he met Lord Chaitanya, he said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, Krishna Himself, Shakshad Hari." No, Shakshad Bhagavan. Like in the prayers, the Gurvastakam, we say, Shakshad Hari Tvena Shamasta Shastra. That how about the Guru's Shakshad Hari? Is another form of Hari himself. So he said, you are the Supreme Lord himself. But here he's saying that it's evident that you've been empowered by the Supreme Lord. So he's simultaneously the Supreme Lord himself and the devotee of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya. He's acting as a devotee and also Acharya, the world Acharya. You have manifested the holy name of Krishna throughout the entire world. Anyone who sees you is immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Krishna. So you may question that. Our materialistic mind may say, what does that mean? You manifested throughout the entire world, but that was just in India, wasn't it? It's in Bengal, India, and maybe South India, like that. But you see, in the spiritual, things aren't limited in that way as we're looking at it. And there's another verse which says that when Lord Chaitanya came on earth, every soul, all the conditioned souls were liberated. So someone may question and say, but there's so many conditioned souls still remaining in the world, so how is that? But when they asked Srila Guru Maharaj that, he said, it's like if you, in the ocean, and then you take a cup, or even a big, maybe a 50 million litre tank, and you take it from the ocean's filled again immediately. So like that way, there's souls coming in the material world all the time, infinitely falling, So, without being especially empowered by Krishna, one cannot manifest ecstatic love of Krishna. For Krishna is the only one who gives ecstatic love. That is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. And then, this is probably a verse put in by Kaviraj Goswami here, because he's quoting the verses. The verse was written by Bilva Mangal Thakur, but it was quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Laghu Bhagavatamritam. But as far as we know, the Laghu Bhagavatamritam was written after this time. After the meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Vallabha. So later on, Kaviraj Goswami is including that verse because it's relevant to what has just been said. Which was, what was said was, unless one is specifically empowered by Krishna, one cannot manifest ecstatic love of Krishna, for Krishna is the only one who gives ecstatic love. And supporting that, this verse says, Sant avatar bhava pushkara nabhasya sarvato badra Krishna danya kovalatos api prem dho bhavati. There may be many all-auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who other than Lord Sri Krishna can bestow love of God upon the surrendered souls? Mahaprabhu kahe, Shun, Bhatta Mahamati, Mayavadi Sanyasiyami, not Jani Krishna Bhakti. Lord Chaitanya replied, my dear Vallabha, you are a learned scholar. Kindly listen to me. I am a sannyasi of the Mayavad school. Therefore, I have no chance of knowing what Krishna Bhakti is. So like that way, Mahaprabhu, because he's, as a devotee, he never liked to hear himself praised in any way. Sometimes even devotees would say, oh, we know who you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You go, Vishnu, 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 like this. So here he's saying, what are you saying? I'm just a Mayavadi sannyasi, because he took initiation externally. Keshav Bharati was in the Mayavad, Sampradaya. You know that story. But anyway, he's saying, therefore I have no chance about knowing about anything about Krishna Bhakti. Nevertheless, my mind has become purified because I have associated with Advaita Acharya, who is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is unparalleled in his understanding of all the revealed scriptures and the devotional service of Lord Krishna. Therefore, he is called Advaita Acharya. Acharya means because he teaches, by example, and Advaita, because Dvaita means two, and Advaita is not two, so one. So he's unequaled. So no one equal to or greater than him in his understanding of the revealed scriptures and his teaching about devotional service of Lord Krishna. Janhara kripate mlechera hoye Krishna bhakti je ke kohite pare thanda vaishnavata shakti. He is such a great personality that by his mercy he can convert even the mlechas to the devotional service of Krishna. Who therefore can estimate the power of his Vaishnavism? So yeah, that's the mlechas or meat eaters, generally who are from the non-Vedic side traditions. It's very difficult to convert them to Vaishnavism. It's a big jump, They may follow some other dharma, mlecha dharma as it's called, Christianity, Islam, etc. But to go directly to Vaishnavism, definitely that proves that who's able to do that, they're empowered by Krishna himself. Nityananda Avadut Shakshad Ishvar Bhavan Madhe Mapta Krishna Premar Sagar. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, the Avadut, is also directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is always intoxicated with the madness of ecstatic love. Indeed, he is an ocean of love of Krishna. So, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, we know, is Avadut. Well, that can mean many things. Generally, Avadut means who doesn't follow the normal behavior as people would follow in civilized society, and can be do strange and unusual things or behave in unusual ways, such as appearing in an assembly, in a mixed assembly with no clothes on, and etc. We're reading that previously in Chaitanya Bhagavat. But one of the things about it, Nityananda, just by his name, Nityananda, he's always blissful, he's always intoxicated in love of God. So that was his symptom. He was always immersed in love of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. So he's the ocean of love of Krishna. So this way Mahaprabhu, he's refuting Vallabhabhata's statement about him being, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and empowered by Krishna for preaching. He's saying, no, look at all these people, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, they're really great. Another one, Saddarshan Bitta Bhattacharya Sarvabhauma, Saddarshani Jagat Guru Bhagavat Uttama. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya perfectly knows the 6 philosophical theses. He is therefore the spiritual master of the entire world. In teaching the 6 paths of philosophy, he is the best of devotees. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, yeah. So he was, as you know, converted, by Lord Chaitanya to be a Vaishnava, and he's said to be an incarnation of Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods. So he's vastly learned, and he's the master of the 6 paths of philosophy, the Saddarshan as they're called. You know what they are, of course, right?
Well, it says for Sri Krishna.
Yeah. Mention it. Jaimini, Mimamsa, that's called Karmavad. Yeah. And then
the 6th?
6, Saddarshan, yeah.
Saddarshan.
Yeah.
And who says that?
Like the 6 philosophies of India.
Yeah. And he's the master of all these 6, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
And what are they?
Mimamsa,
The Saddharmas?
by Jaiminis. These are all by the sage Jaimini. The logic, Nyaya, by Gautama Rishi. And then Patanjali's Yoga. Then you have Vaisheshika. That's like atomic theory. It's a materialistic theory saying the ultimate entity is the atom. material atom. And you have Buddha, Darshan, and you have Vedanta of Vedavyas. Is that 6? Like that, I think.
The Vedanta of Vedavyas, the highest.
Yeah. Then he says, he is the best of devotees. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has shown me the limit of devotional service. Only by his mercy have I understood that devotional service to Krishna is the essence of all mystic yoga. Ramananda Rai, Krishna Rossera Nidhan, Tenno Jnaila Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Srila Ramananda Rai is the ultimate knower of the transcendental mellows of Lord Krishna's devotional service. He has instructed me that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Through the mercy of Ramananda Rai, I've understood that ecstatic love of Krishna is the highest goal of life, and that spontaneous love of Krishna is the highest perfection. So Lord Krishna is worshipped by regulative devotional service, but the highest perfection of devotional service is spontaneous love of Godhead. Dasha, Shaka, Vatsalya, Arije Shringar, Dasha, Shaka, Guru, Kanta, Asha, Jalhar. The servant, friend, superior and conjugal lover are the shelters of the transcendental mellows called Dasya, Shaka, Vatsalya and Shringara. Shringara is also called Kanta. Kanta and Shringara or Madhurya all means the same. So a rasa, a mellow, has its shelter. So if the person's inner inspiration and constitutional, what's called sthai bhav, means the constitutional on which sthai means sta, the verb sta means to sit on, to be established. You talk about pratishta, shta, janmashtami, the day on which Lord Krishna appears. So it's where something is, like something is on this is sitting on this table. So this is sta, this is the table that's supporting it, yes. The foundation which is supporting it. So the person's sthai bhav, that's their essential constitutional, that gives them life, that gives them, gives them their vitality. So the sthai bhav is their eternal way of serving Krishna in their eternal constitution, their svarup, is, if it's dasya, then the shelter of that is the servant. Right? So they're going to serve those who are serving Krishna in that mood, like Raktak, Patrak, the servants of Krishna. And those who have the Sakya Bhav, Sakya Rasa, their shelter is the friend, those who are friends, Sakhas of Krishna, etc. So every rasa has its shelter, just like every sense has its sense object. Right? The object of the eye, is the form. The object of the ear is the sound, like this. So,
it's like Dharma.
Yes, it's the corresponding. That's why Madhurya Rasa conjugal is considered the fullest and most complete Mukha Rasa, because it includes all the others are there. Like, and Guru Maharaj explaining, saying, in that every nerve of our being, every nerve of our soul will be satisfied, purified and fully fulfilled by its relating with the corresponding nerve in Krishna, to say that. We're talking about nerves of our soul. It's kind of in the language, Srila Maharaj's type of language, you know. But so there are two kinds of emotion, bhav. Emotion with an understanding of the Lord's full opulences is called Aishvarya Jnana Yukta. And pure, uncontaminated emotion is called Kevala. One cannot achieve shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, simply by knowing his opulences. So that's the symptom, but like in the worship of Lord Narayan, there's Aishvarya Jnana Yukta. Because knowing the opulences of the Lord, his beauty, his wealth, his strength, his fame, his knowledge, all these things, this is the inspiration for the service to him. You follow? But that isn't going to give shelter at the feet of Krishna. Just by knowing his opulences, he's like this, he's like that. That's why it says the Kevala is Kevala means pure, you know, not mixed. He uses the words contaminated. Uncontaminated devotion or emotion is what is going to satisfy Krishna and is going to give corresponding experience about Krishna. You know this. So one is Aishvarya, one is Madhurya. They're described in different ways. So Krishna he's called Leela Purushottam. He's Purushottam, he's a supreme person, just as is Ramachandra, Narayan, they're all Purushottam. But they have Maryada Purushottam, means they're worshipped, they're satisfied, and they're realized through the perfect following of Vedic rules and regulations. You know, that's the medium through which they can be experienced and known, etc. But Krishna is different. See, you read in Revealed Truth, he talks about that a lot, Srila Govinda Maharaj. Actually, you know, Krishna is only satisfied by love, actually. And we're saying that not, you know, in sort of a sentimental way, it's a fact, you know. Love is, and we know, as we say, you know, the Lord can only be captured by love, not by intellect or understanding in that way. So in a way that you could say that's the secret of Krishna consciousness, is to know that, to understand that. So you know.
And I remember somebody said, how do we get that love? How can we get that affection? And then Gurudev said, through humility and tolerance.
Yes. Of course, yes. Actually, humility, tolerance. Manadena. Lord Chaitanya is speaking here, and you know he's quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to those devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. The word Atma Bhuta means personal associates. Through the understanding of the Lord's opulence, the goddess of fortune herself could not receive the shelter of Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. So the devotees in Vrindavan, they enjoy continually the association of Krishna. But the great Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune herself, the consort of Lord Narayan, who has complete knowledge of the opulence of the Lord, she couldn't achieve the association of Krishna. She went to Vrindavan, she performed severe tapasya, sitting under a tree for like, I think, a year or something, and eating khichdi, simple, you know, in a simple cloth, you know, and praying to get entrance into that type of service of Krishna, like the gopis, but she couldn't. And it's explained that Actually, why she couldn't, because she wanted to enter that, but not leaving her mood of as the goddess of fortune, as Lakshmi, the possessor of all wealth. So like what you said there, humility, is very important. But this is special, of course, in the Leela and the pastimes, because Lakshmi is Prakash of Radharani anyway, herself. So the pastimes. So here's quoting many quotations from Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya. Sometimes he's called the ideal preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam was his total reference, and his total everything was, he spoke was like through the lens, of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Amala Purana, the spotless Purana. So there's many verses here talking about the wonderful devotion and divine love of the gopis for Krishna, and completely distinct from love of Krishna in opulence. Pure love of Krishna is on the highest level. On the surface of the world there is no greater devotee than Uddhava. Uddhava desires to take on his head the dust of the gopis' lotus feet. I've learned about all these transcendental loving affairs of Lord Krishna from Srip Damodar. So he's praising all these devotees, now Uddhava, Srip Damodar, now Haridas Thakur, saying he's the most exalted of all pure devotees. The teacher of the holy name. Every day he chants 300,000 holy names of the Lord. I've learned about the glories of the Lord's holy name from Haridas Thakur, and by his mercy I've understood these glories. Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Gadadhar Pandit, Jagadananda, Shankara, Rakreshwara, Kashishvara, Mukunda, Vasudev, Murari, and many other devotees. They've all descended to preach to everyone the glories of the holy name of Krishna and the value of love for him. I've learned from them the meaning of devotional service to Krishna.
I means Mahaprabhu?
Pardon?
Mahaprabhu?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. This Lord Chaitanya is speaking, yeah. So just see how completely Lord Chaitanya has immersed himself as a devotee. It's really, it's not just like putting on an act or something. He's actually taken on the completely, reversed the role as Krishna. He's as a devotee, as a bhakta, Krishna bhakta. You see,
in this chapter.
No, always. But here, particularly, the reason why he's glorifying all these devotees, because Vallabha Bhatta is a great scholar and a great devotee also, but he has a little bit of pride, because he's vastly learned. So to break that pride, when he was praising Lord Chaitanya as being, so great, Supreme Lord himself, and empowered to preach, Christian consciousness and the holy name, and Lord Chaitanya is praising all these devotees to impress really upon Vallabha Bhatta about the glories of the devotee, yeah? Knowing that Vallabha Bhatta's heart was full of pride, the Lord spoke these words, hinting at how one can learn about devotional service. So the real thing is, it's not something just picked up through scholarship, through intense study of scriptures or different aspects of knowledge. It can't come that way. It can't come through that way. That can give knowledge, it can give some understanding and some knowledge, jnana like that. But devotion to Krishna, we say, bhaktya sandhya. Devotion comes from devotion. That means who's having a devotion? A devotee. The only place you can get that is from a devotee, actually. Yeah? But then we could say, yes, okay, so you read the book, some scriptures and some commentaries. Yes, they're also written by devotees, so that is also possible through that way. But that's not ordinary jnana or knowledge, because it's living. That's why you say, the Shastra is also a guide and a guru, but more passive, in a more passive way, and directly personally from a devotee. So Vallabhabhata was thinking, this is Kaviraj Goswami saying, this is what he was thinking, Ami se Vaishnav, Bhakti Siddhant Shabojani, Ami se Bhagavat Ata Uttama Vakhani. I am a great Vaishnav. Having learned all the conclusions of Vaishnava philosophy, I can understand the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam and explain it very well. Such pride had existed for a long time within the mind of Vallabhabhata, but as he heard the preaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his pride was cut down. When he heard from the mouth of the Lord about the pure Vaishnavism of all these devotees, he immediately desired to see them. Bhatta kahe, "E sab Vaishnav rahi kon sthane, kon prakari paimu ihan shabara darshane." Where do all these devotees live, and how can I see them? Prabhu kahe, "Kena gaude, keho deshantare, saba asi jache rata jatra deki bare." The Lord replied, although some of them live in Bengal and some in other states, they have all come here to see the Rath Yatra festival. At present they are all living here. Their residences are in various quarters. Here you will get the audience of them all. Thereafter, with great submission and humility, Vallabhabhata invited the Lord to dine at his home. The next day, when all the Vaishnavas came to the abode of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord introduced Vallabhabhata to them all. He was surprised to see the brilliance of their faces. Indeed, among them, Vallabhabhata seemed just like a glowworm. Yeah, there's a saying, among the rabbits, the jackal thinks he's very great till he meets the lion. So sometimes, like, even the devotees of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, to them, of course, and to us, he was, great acharya, world acharya, like that. They're always thinking like that, so they think there couldn't be anyone, greater than him, or he's like totally the standard of devotion and empowered by Krishna and this and that. And when they came to India, and he took them to different places, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Mat, of course, and other places. And that time, Srila Prabhupada, he'd just sit down on the floor on a mat, in a gamcha or a lungi, very simple. And he would relate with his godbrothers, and they were surprised and shocked. Whoa, how great are they, He's showing much respect to them as his godbrothers and also senior godbrothers and like that. They were surprised, So something like that, this idea, Vallabhabhata, he's seeing all these devotees and very... And he felt just like a glowworm among them. Then Vallabhabhata brought in a great quantity of Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasadam and sumptuously fed Lord Chaitanya and his associates. All the sannyasi associates of the Lord, headed by Paramananda Puri, sat on one side and thus partook of the prasadam. And Lord Chaitanya was still quite young at this time, right? Took sannyas at 24, so he wouldn't have been more than about 26, 27 years of age. So the Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati, they were two sannyasis, very older and senior to Lord Chaitanya, so he always gave them a lot of respect, put them on the chair, and it's like that. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat in the midst of the devotees. Advaita Charya and Lord Nityananda each sat on one side of the Lord. The other devotees sat in front of the Lord and behind him. The devotees from Bengal, who I am unable to count, all sat down in lines in the courtyard. When Vallabhabhata saw all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was greatly surprised, and in devotion he offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of each and every one of them. Srup Damodar, Jagadananda, Kashishvara and Shankar, along with Raghava and Damodar Pandit, took charge of distributing the prasadam. Vallabhabhata had brought a large quantity of Mahaprasadam offered to Lord Jagannath. Thus all the sannyasis sat down to eat with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Generally you have seen, if I remember in our mat in Puri, normally when we take prasad, right, we sit on a little mat or a straw mat or something, right, so a little bit off the floor. But when they bring the Mahaprasadam from Jagannath Prasadam there, then you have no mat, you sit directly on the floor. This is symbolic that you're not going to be above that prasadam. So that's the custom also. Vallabhabhata, okay. Accepting the prasadam, all the Vaishnavas chanted the holy names. Hari, Hari. The rising vibration of the holy name of Hari filled the entire universe. When all the Vaishnavas had finished eating, Vallabhabhata brought a large quantity of garlands, sandalwood pulp, spices and betel. He worshipped the devotees very respectfully and became extremely happy. Okay, and then it describes about the on the day of Rath Yatra that Lord Chaitanya began the chanting, and he divided all devotees into 7 groups. So 7 groups, and each group had several mridangas. You know, it was like an incredible, huge sound, you know. So the 7 groups were headed by, not surprisingly, Advaita, Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, Vakreshvara, Srivas Thakur, Raghava Pandit and Gadadhar Pandit. And Lord Chaitanya was chanting and chanting, and he was going between one group to the other, wandering from one group to the other. And seeing all this, Vallabhabhata was completely astonished. He was overwhelmed by transcendental bliss and lost himself. So, you know, being very proud of his knowledge and his learning, saying, look, you know, as we say, okay, there's karma, jnana and bhakti. So there's, you know, the physical, material things, you know, as we say, there's power, but above power is knowledge. It's more subtle, more finer, but that knowledge can give a subtle kind of a pride, but above the knowledge is the love, you know. So he was completely taken out of his plane into the plane of, as we say, the plane of transcendental delight. So then Lord Chaitanya stopped the dancing of the others, and he personally began to dance. And seeing the beauty of the Lord and his ecstatic love, Vallabhabhata concluded, "E ta shakshat Krishna bhattera hoila nishchoy." He said, oh, here is Lord Krishna without a doubt. So I don't know how long we have. I mean, I wanted to just read this part. Yeah, can I read a bit more?
Yes.
Yeah. So then that was the Rath Yatra festival. So after that, I'm just giving a synopsis. So then Vallabhabhata privately himself, he went to see Lord Chaitanya in his place, and he made a request to him. He said, "I've written some commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Would your lordship kindly hear it?" You know where this is going, right? Prabhu kahe, Bhagavatata bhujite na pari, Bhagavatata shunite ami nohi adhikari. I do not understand the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord said. Indeed, I am not a suitable person to hear its meaning. Means from you, you know. I simply sit and try to chant the holy name of Krishna, and although I chant all day and night, I nevertheless cannot complete the chanting my prescribed number of rounds. And giving some excuse, saying, I've got no time to do that. I haven't even finished my rounds, you know. Just hearing this. But Vallabha Bhatta, he's not going to be put off, he's pushing, you know. He says, I've tried to describe elaborately the meaning of Krishna's holy name. Kindly hear the explanation. And Lord Chaitanya replied, I do not accept many different meanings for the holy name of Krishna. I know only that Lord Krishna is Shyama Sundar and Yashodanandan. That's all I know. So these are apparently the two most favourite names of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya, Shyama Sundar and Yashodanandan. The only purport of the holy name of Krishna is that he's dark blue like a tamal tree, Shyama Sundar, and is the son of Mother Yashoda, Yashodanandan. This is the conclusion of all the revealed scriptures. I conclusively know these two names, Shyamasundar and Yashodanandan. I do not understand any other meanings, nor have I the capacity to understand them. Being omniscient, the Lord could understand that Vallabha Bhatta's explanations of Krishna's name and Srimad Bhagavatam were useless. Therefore he didn't care about them. When he rigidly declined to hear his explanations, Vallabha Bhatta went home feeling morose. His faith in the Lord and devotion to him changed. So he felt upset with the Lord, you know. And then he started going to the place, the room of Gadadhar Pandit. And he kept coming and going, showing affection in various ways, and thus maintained a relationship with him. So I guess you could say he stopped going to see the Lord, but he went to his nearest and dearest, you know? Sort of like that. Because Lord Chaitanya didn't take Vallabha Bhatta very seriously, none of the people in Jagannath Puri would hear any of his explanations. Ashamed, insulted and unhappy, Vallabha Bhatta went to Gadadhar Pandit. Approaching him with great humility, he said, I've taken shelter of you, my dear sir. Kindly be merciful to me and save my life. Please hear my explanation of the meaning of Lord Krishna's name. In that way, the mud of the shame that has come upon me will be washed off. So he's thinking, well, if Lord Chaitanya won't hear it, at least I can tell it to him, you know.
He tried again, right?
Try again with him. So now that's a problem. That's hey, well,
he didn't get it.
No, but that's right. But there's a problem for Gadadhar Pandit. What's he going to do? Because he doesn't want to upset Vallabha Bhatta by refusing, but he thinks if he hears it, that will upset Lord Chaitanya, right? Because he, you know. So in his mind he began to pray to Krishna, please protect me in this danger. I take shelter of you. Lord Chaitanya is present in everyone's heart. He will certainly know my mind. Therefore I do not fear him. So however, his associates are extremely critical, like Jagadananda Pandit and one or two others. So he was thinking, in this situation, even if I were to hear it from him, I pray for protection to Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya, he knows what's in my heart, he will understand that. But the other devotees, they may not understand. They will be very critical, and that will be very hard.
So actually he was a devotee of the Lord, but he was very knowledgeable and he was very proud of him.
Yes.
His knowledge.
Yes.
So he was like a Vedantist or something.
Yes. So every day he would, Vallabha Bhatta, oh, wait a minute, he, okay, so then It doesn't actually say there, but it seems like he might. It doesn't say whether he actually heard it from him or not, but it just says, although Gadadhar Pandit wasn't himself at fault, but some of the other devotees, they showed anger towards him, but it says affectionate anger. It wasn't like, vindictive or it's like this. So he's still coming every day. He's coming. Vallabhabhata, he starts coming back to Lord Chaitanya, and he was trying to engage in philosophical debate with Advaita Acharya and others like Srup Damodar. But whatever conclusions he presented were just refuted by the devotees. Because they were all, if you think, they were all directly associates with Lord Chaitanya and having a lot of association with him. So they were very learned, and they refuted all his arguments.
He's not an impersonalist.
No, but he was like a duck in the society of white swans. Whenever he would come in the association. And this is the part. He says, one day Vallabhabhata said to Advaita Acharya, and it's right what he says, but every living entity is female, Prakriti, and considers Krishna her husband, Pati. It is the duty of a chaste wife devoted to her husband not to utter her husband's name, but all of you chant the name of Krishna. How can this be called a religious principle? He's trying to, any way or other, trying to get accepted, that they can accept something he's saying, And Advaita Acharya, to this question, he didn't directly answer it, but he said, in front of you is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the personification of religious principles. You should ask him, for he will give you the proper answer. And then Lord Chaitanya said, my dear Vallabhabhata, you do not know religious principles. Actually, the first duty of a chaste woman is to carry out the order of her husband. The order of Krishna is to chant his name incessantly. Therefore, one who is chaste and adherent to the husband Krishna must chant the Lord's name, for she cannot deny the husband's order. Following this religious principle, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna always chants the holy name. As a result of this, he gets the fruit of ecstatic love for Krishna. Hearing this, Vallabhabhata was speechless. He returned home greatly unhappy and began to consider, every day I'm defeated in this assembly. If by chance I am one day victorious, that will be a great source of happiness for me, and all my shame will go away. But by what means shall I adopt to establish my statements? The next day, when he came to the assembly of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he sat down after offering obeisances to the Lord and said something with great pride. Oh, now he really does it. You don't want to say that to Lord Chaitanya, criticizing, Sridhar Swami. He says, in my commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, I've refuted the explanations of Sridhar Swami. I cannot accept his explanations. Sridhar Swami was a great acharya in Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. That's called the Rudra Sampradaya, coming from Lord Shiva. And Lord Chaitanya was very fond of his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Vallabhabhata said, whatever Sridhar Swami reads, he explains according to the circumstances. Therefore, he is inconsistent in his explanations and cannot be accepted as an authority. Lord Chaitanya smilingly replied, Swami namane je jana vishara bittare tare koriye ganan. One who does not accept the Swami, husband, as an authority, I consider a prostitute. He's playing on the words, Sridhar Swami, saying one who doesn't accept the Swami, which is another word for husband, as an authority, like a wife is supposed to do that, I consider them a prostitute. After saying this, Lord Chaitanya became very grave. All the devotees present derived great satisfaction from hearing this statement. Lord Chaitanya descended as an incarnation for the benefit of the entire world. Thus he knew the mind of Vallabhabhata very well. By various hints and refutations, he corrected Vallabhabhata exactly as Krishna had cut down the false pride of Indra by lifting Govardhan hill to save the residents of Vrindavan. An ignorant living being doesn't recognize his actual profit. Because of ignorance and material pride, he sometimes considers profit a loss, but when his pride is cut down, he can actually see his true benefit. So it's like that, like we talk about, Govinda Maharaj talking about, the mountain of ego. That's the thing which is, the only thing really which is separating us from Krishna. But because the ego is like very, very subtle, it's a very, very subtle covering over the soul. The other things, the grosser things, we say, kanak kamani pratishta, desire for wealth, as Lord Chaitanya said, na dhanam, I don't want wealth, na janam, I don't want followers, na sundarim, meaning beauty, in other words, women for men, men for women, only want your devotional service, life after life. So kanak is wealth, and kamani, enjoyment, and pratishta. So even kanak and kamani, those can be left, like, see great personalities, great yogis or Mayavadis, they've completely renounced, those things, But the pratishta, very hard, the desire to be recognized, to be given a position. This is described in different ways: name and fame, distinction, adoration, etc. You can run to a very, very, very subtle level. So Srila Guru Maharaj says it's the worst enemy of the Vaishnava devotee. So when that's cut down, that's like the tarot cards. It's called the tower, the lightning struck tower. It's a tower, and when it's struck by lightning, it's smashed. Then when it's smashed, then the person can see themselves, because they can't see themselves because of the tower. Then they can see themselves, and then they can become humble, and they start again in a good way, in a good direction. So, returning home that night, Vallabhabhata thought, previously at Prayag, Lord Chaitanya was very kind to me. He accepted my invitation with his other devotees, and he was kind to me. Why is he now changed so much here at Jagannath Puri? I'm being very proud of my learning. I'm thinking, let me become victorious. But the Lord is trying to purify me by nullifying this false pride. For a characteristic of the Supreme Lord is that he acts for everyone's welfare. I am falsely proud, advertising myself as a learned scholar. Therefore the Lord insults me just to favour me by cutting down this false pride. He's actually acting for my benefit, although I interpret his actions as insults. This is exactly like the incident in which Lord Krishna cut down Indra, the great puffed up fool, to correct him. Thinking in this way, he approached Lord Chaitanya the next morning, and in great humility, offering many prayers, he sought shelter and surrendered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Jai. Vallabhabhata admitted, I am a great fool, Ami Alga Jeev. And indeed I have acted like a fool by trying to demonstrate my learning to you. My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord. You have showed mercy to me in a way just befitting your position by insulting me to cut down all my false pride. I am an ignorant fool, for I interpret as an insult what is meant for my benefit. In this way I am just like King Indra, who out of ignorance tried to surpass Krishna, the Supreme Lord. You have cured the blindness of my pride by smearing my eyes with the ointment of your mercy. You have bestowed so much mercy upon me that my ignorance is now gone. My Lord, I've committed offences. Please excuse me. I seek shelter of you. Please be merciful to me by placing your lotus feet on my head. Prabhu ke tumi pandita maha bhagavata tui guna jahan tahan nahi garva parvat. You are both a greatly learned scholar and a great devotee. Wherever there are two such attributes, there cannot be a mountain of false pride. So he's restoring his, self-respect or self-esteem by saying, no, but he gives some caveats, then he says, you have dared criticize Sridhar Swami and you've begun your own commentary in Srimad Bhagavatam, not accepting his authority. That is your false pride. Sridhar Swami is the spiritual master of the entire world because by his mercy we can understand Srimad Bhagavatam. I therefore accept him as a spiritual master. Whatever you might write due to false pride trying to surpass Sridhar Swami would carry a contrary purport. Therefore no one would pay attention to it. One who comments on Srimad Bhagavatam following in the footsteps of Sridhar Swami will be honoured and accepted by everyone. Put forth your explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam following in the footsteps of Sridhar Swami. Giving up your false pride, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So he's saying, you're a scholar, you're going to have to, give commentary, that's your nature, so do that, but following the line, the footsteps of Sridhar Swami. Abandoning your offences, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, the holy names of the Lord. Then very soon you will achieve shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Then Vallabhabhata requested the Lord, if you are actually pleased with me, please accept my invitation once again. And the Lord accepted the invitation just to give him happiness. The Lord is always eager to see everyone in the material world happy. Therefore sometimes he chastises someone just to purify his heart. When Vallabhabhata invited the Lord and his associates, the Lord was very pleased with him. So that's basically the end. So then, just the last of the chapter says, okay, so then Vallabhabhata, he wanted to be initiated by Gadadhara Pandit. Because, he had developed some relationship with Gadadhara Pandit, remember, before when he went to him to try to get him to hear his explanation. And Gadadhara Pandit, he's, Radharani's expansion, internal energy of the Lord. So, very soft, he's very soft. And he wanted to take initiation from him. But he said, Gadadhara Pandit said, the work of acting as a spiritual master is not possible for me. I am completely dependent. My Lord is Gaurachandra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I cannot do anything independently without his order. So then, after a few days, as the Lord was now pleased with Vallabhabhata, and he asked his servant Govinda to call for Gadadhara Pandit. And he said, the Lord wants to... okay. Okay, so this is mixed with the rasa between Gadadhara Pandit and the Lord. This because when the Lord became a little bit in the situation with Gadadhara Pandit. Remember, we were saying he was in a position, a quandary, whether to hear the explanation of Vallabhabhata or not. But it seems that he did, or at least he didn't send him away. So Lord Chaitanya was showing some affection, anger then towards Gadadhara Pandit. And then Swarup Damodar, who very much knew the mind of Lord Chaitanya. Remember, Lord Chaitanya is Radharani and Swarup Damodar Lalita, so they're very close. So Srup Damodar, he really could understand the mind of the Lord. That's why he was always the one who would, anything that would come to the Lord, that someone wanted to present something, some argument or some poem or some explanation or anything, he would have to go through Srup Damodar first. And if he considered it suitable, then he would offer it. This is to do with, transcendental things, because in the very high level, very subtle things, the Lord Chaitanya become disturbed if something was presented to him that was ras abas, as it's called, going against the flow, the mood of the Leela and Vrindavan, and he knew that. Srup Damodar knew about that, so he said, Srup Damodar said to Gadadhar Pandit, Lord Chaitanya wanted to test you, therefore he neglected you. But why did you not retaliate by reproaching him? Why did you fearfully tolerate his criticism? Gadadhar Pandit said, Lord Chaitanya is completely independent. He is the topmost omniscient personality. It would not look well for me to talk to him as if I were his equal. I can tolerate whatever he says, bearing it on my head. He will automatically be merciful to me after considering my faults and attributes. After saying this, Gadadhar Pandit went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and fell down crying at the lotus feet of the Lord. Smiling slightly, the Lord embraced him and spoke sweet words so that others would also hear. Ami chaluntoma tumino cholila, krodde kichuna kohila shokolo sahila. I wanted to agitate you, the Lord said, but you did not become agitated. Indeed, you could not say anything in anger. Instead, you tolerated everything. Your mind was not disturbed by my tricks. Rather, you stayed fixed in your simplicity. In this way, you have purchased me. No one can describe the characteristics and ecstatic love of Gadadhar Pandit. Therefore, another name for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Gadadhar Prananath, the life and soul of Gadadhar Pandit. No one can say how merciful the Lord is to Gadadhar Pandit, but people know the Lord as Gadayar Gauranga, the Lord Gauranga of Gadadhar Pandit. As one dear to Bhakti Thakur, Gaur Gadadhar, in his house in Navadvip, in Kodumdvip. So you have Nitai Gauranga, then on the other side you have Gaur Gadadhar. Yeah. No one can understand the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're like the Ganges, for hundreds and thousands of branches flow from even one of his activities. Gadadhar Pandit is celebrated all over the world for his gentle behaviour, his Brahminical attributes, and his steady love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord purified Vallabhabhata by cleansing him of the mud of false pride. By such activities, the Lord also instructed others. The Lord was actually always merciful within his heart, but he was sometimes externally negligent of his devotees. We should not be preoccupied with his external feature, however, for if we do so, we shall be vanquished. Yeah, like you don't look at it critically and say, "Oh, why did the Lord do that?" That's not like like a devotee wouldn't do that, something like that. It's a Supreme Lord. His activities are very unfathomable, deeper than millions of oceans, So you can't understand. Maybe at the end of creation, or at the end of all the universes, and when we're able to see the totality of things, we get some understanding. But even then, not, because it's also infinite. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very deep. Who can understand them? Only one who has firm, deep devotion to his lotus feet can understand these pastimes. And this is the very last. Another day, Gadadhar Pandit invited the Lord to dinner. The Lord took prasadam at his home with his personal associates. There, Vallabhabhata took permission from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his desire to be initiated by Gadadhar Pandit was thus fulfilled. I have thus explained the Lord's meeting with Vallabhabhata. By hearing of this incident, one can achieve the treasure of love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Rup Raghunatha Pade Jora Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohi Krishna Das, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. Jai.
Beautiful chapter. Beautiful.
Who wants to chant the, please?
Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah.
Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah. Gopala Govinda Shimari Sindhana. Giridhari Gopinatham Madhanam. Sankirtan ki Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Grantaraj Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Veda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki Gaura Premanandi
Kami tengok ya.